Hey, good morning, everybody. Today we're reading in Proverbs chapter 5. And in chapter 1 of Proverbs, you might remember back that we read about the purpose of what the Proverbs are for in general. Let me just refresh your memory with that. In verses 2 and 3, it says, their purpose is to teach people wisdom and discipline, to help them understand the insights of the wise. Their purpose is to teach people to live disciplined and successful lives, to help them do what is right, just, and fair. Now, Scripture reminds us that there are many voices speaking to us, many voices in culture speaking to us and trying to lure us into living in a certain way, to give us guiding principles for life. And so many of them are so deceptive. But God's call in our life is that we surrender ourselves completely to the love of Jesus Christ and to allow all the essential parts of our life to be organized around Him. And in these verses today, we get into a pretty heavy subject. It's the wise counsel of a loving father who's imparting wisdom to his children, and especially around this subject of the importance of marital fidelity. In verses 1 and 2, he even starts out by saying, listen carefully to my wise counsel. Now, Solomon gives us an image here, and it's the image of an adulterous woman, an immoral woman who is calling out. And that's the image of the temptation. And in one of the earliest pieces of wisdom in this chapter, in verse 8, he says this. He says, stay away from here. Don't go near the door of her house. In other words, avoid people and situations that are going to be tempting us towards unfaithfulness and adultery. Solomon is very explicit as to the consequences of such unfaithfulness. And he goes through a whole list of them, including so many ways that we lose. A loss of reputation, a loss of trust, even the loss of financial resources, and so many more are in that list too. And faithfulness also brings with it a deep regret of looking back in sorrow on a sinful choice. And ultimately, it could lead to the end of a marriage. And one of the most important ways to stay away from unfaithfulness is to keep our marriage strong, to invest in it. Solomon describes the joys of a faithful marriage. Intimacy without guilt is such a beautiful gift, he says. It's the joy of being able to share life with someone that you trust completely, to know that they love you unconditionally, to know that they love you, period. It's living without shame. It's living not in fear, but it's living in honesty. Solomon compares it to drinking pure water from a safe, pure well. There are no hidden poisons in it. You see, God's plan for faithful, healthy, well-functioning monogamous marriages exposes the shallowness and the damage of any adulterous relationship. Verse 21 reminds us that adultery usually involves secrecy. And so that's why it's so important to find an honest friend that you can share your struggles with, and that they can hold you accountable. Verse 21 says this. It says, for the Lord sees clearly what a man does, examining every path he takes. Now, make sure that we all know that none of us are perfect, and God offers His forgiveness. Jesus went to the cross to pay for the forgiveness that we all need for all kinds of sin. And with God's help, there is always hope. Nothing is impossible. However, once trust is broken in a relationship, the process of bringing it back is so difficult. The damage to relationships and reputations and trust can take a long time to reestablish. So what's the wisdom here? Invest in your marriage. Invest in your marriage. Treasure your spouse. Pray together. Live for Jesus together. And to understand that temptations will come. Temptations from our natural self and temptations from outside, from the devil. Remember what the Apostle Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians chapter 10. He said, if you think you're standing strong, be careful not to fall. The temptations in your life are no different from what others experience. And God is faithful. He will not allow the temptation to be more than you can stand. And when you're tempted, He will show you a way out that you can endure. Thank God that He cares for us every single day, and that in the face of temptation, that He always provides a way out. So stay close, stay strong, listen to His voice, and love your spouse, love your wife, love your husband every day. Have an amazing day.
If these devotional videos are helpful to you, subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so you know when we post a new video. And of course, please share them with others.